Welcome to a new episode and a new series. This episode is going to be just doing some archaeology to figure out what we're working with and develop a game plan. What we're looking at here is this, I want to say it's an 80s Manco Red Fox, and that one over there is a Carter Bros. I haven't found a model number yet, but I would say, the same time frame, 70s, 80s. The Manco has a Predator on it, is otherwise complete aside from a few things and a lot of riggery that needs to be undone, but it does run, so the Manco will be the candidate for the build. I don't know where we're going to go with the build yet, so I'll do a quick walk around, show you all the things that I found that will be addressed, and then I'll clean them and see what we're working with. Everything looks to be in order. This lock nut is not where it needs to be, as is that one. They're both loose. Whoever wired this used wire nuts and random bits of wire, because we all know wire nuts are super secure and are not meant for anything other than houses. Flaking paint there. I'll have to clean that up and see if there's cracks underneath it. This drive wheel is not matching, it doesn't look like. But look at this sketchiness. I got 8 washers spacing the sprocket away from the hub so that the clutch lines up. That's super janky. And this only looks like 35 chain, so that's not really adequate. One wheel peel, if you couldn't tell by the bald tire already. Engine is whatever. There's one bolt holding it in there. Oh, okay, so we got 3 or 4 bolts holding it in. That's pretty good. This alignment could have been done so much better. There's not even a bolt holding this clutch in. It's what, a set screw and the Woodruff key, and that's it. That's the only thing holding that clutch on. That's so sketchy. One thing the owner did tell me about was in order to get the sprocket and clutch to line up means the wheel is barely on the hub, and barely he means like 2 threads worth. When you ride it for more than a couple minutes, this nut comes off and then the wheel falls off. So yeah, this is not the right wheel. It doesn't match the others, and also it's a different size. So I don't know what we'll do about that, but this is trash. This whole setup is trash. What is this? Oh, it's the spring. They rigged the return spring up and jammed it under the exhaust nut. I don't know if you can see that, but it works whenever it returns. I'm gonna guess when I come time to take the oil out of this, it's gonna be the break-in oil. And oh, I can already see it's really dark. Oh, that's gonna suck. That's gonna be such a mess. So yeah, as you would expect it to be. This tire has no valve stem. It's coated in the Fix-A-Flat foam, so I'm sure the inside of the tire is disgusting. And it's also backwards, because traditionally the valve is on the outside. And they've been driving it debeaded, because I can see on the rim there's wear from, oh god, there's so much foam in there. Oh, that's gonna suck. Anyways, what I was saying was there's wear on the rim where the bead of the tire has been rubbing. And then obviously we have plywood special for the seats, but it's also held in with zip ties. So yeah, we'll just move on to the parts cart. Okay, first things first, this wheel is wheel for like a wagon or a wheelbarrow. So that's a Harbor Freight special. Oh, Jesus. That was irritating. And it's a Harbor Freight special, which means I can pivot it as I please. And this nut, I don't think that's the right thread, or it's really boogered up with dirt and maybe it is, oh, no, it's just stripped. That's cool. And I guess a kid thought it would be cool to have a chrome cart, but they only did part of it, which is gonna be a pain to get off. There is a spot for a brake pedal. I'll show you in a little bit. I think I see a band for a drum brake, so why did I touch that again? That was so annoying. So far, I don't see any structural damage. So yeah, we'll just move to the back. Oh wait, hold on. Look at this. This is back on the Manco cart. So we have, it looks like a nut, a lock washer, a nut, a lock washer, and another washer in place of, oh wait, I don't think the bearing's even in there. I think the bearing's gone. There's this piece of metal here. It's actually part of the rim. I think this is supposed to substitute a bearing. That's the jankiest shit I've ever seen. But it seems like the journal for that bearing is destroyed. We'll have to take all this shit apart and figure out what's going on with that. But yeah, back onto the other cart. This seat was just held in with deck screws, or wood screws, whatever you want to call them. And it's mounted with 2x4s, which are also held in with wood screws. If I had to guess, I'd say there was a bracket here that the seatbelt mounted to, because it's actual metal here, and it seems to have been actually welded. So I'm not sure. Oh, and they also painted over the aluminum tape. Anyways, move on to what's left of the rear of this go-kart and see if there's anything else worth saving. The bearing in this is destroyed as well. Or rather, there is no bearing left. See, watch. Oh, and you can move it that way. And the only thing worth mentioning, I think, back here is here's what's left of the drum brake band, whatever you want to call it. And that's just hanging out there. There's also some other bracket that was cut off here. So I'm not sure what that was about. I don't really know what we're going to do with this frame at this point, but maybe just put it aside. But yeah, we'll just take them outside and clean them up real quick. I got the carts cleaned up. They've come out pretty well. I just want to run the engine real quick so that way I can mix up the oil that is in it. I've seen the engine run, I know it runs, but I've put fresh gas in it with some fuel treatment. Put a new plug in it because the plug that was in it was the original one that comes with it when you buy the engine. I'm thinking the oil that is in it is also the break-in oil. So I just want to mix it up as much as I can before I change it. So yeah, we'll just fire it up real quick and let it get up to temperature. Oh yes, quite sludgy. And there's a decent amount of paste on the drain plug. It's not terrible. I mean, it's bad, obviously, because I know it's never been changed. But, and there is metallic in it, but not the worst I've seen considering I don't care about this engine at all, so it really doesn't matter. We're just using conventional 530 for this. If this engine's noisy, we can step up weight, or we can go with something a little bit more specialized to garbage engines. Got the wheels all off. We have no matching sets. We're missing 2 bearings. Several of the rims are destroyed, at least in the center journal bearing area, like where the bearing slides into, so they just kind of fall into place. Put a bearing in there, you just take it right back out. I think 2 of the tires are savable. We're not working with much, basically. I'm not really sure what to do about that just yet. But I do have the frame stripped down as well, and I'm able to figure out what I'm working with, and then we can figure out a game plan from there. So yeah, the wheels are a mess, and this is one of the things that I would have replaced more than likely, so it's okay that these are all random mismatched ones and not really usable. But as far as the carts go, we're actually better off than I thought. Weirdly enough, both front right spindle are bent on both carts. It's weird, I don't know why both those ones are bent, but the Carter one has much better looking spindles. They're heavier duty looking, they're triangulated, and they have Zerk fittings to be serviceable, so I may steal those. But these ones are a little junkier, and they're literally just a piece of pipe with a bolt welded to it. But other than that, we're good, and I'll show you the stuff I found with the frames. So this is only one of 2 spots that I found that was damaged and previously repaired. So this one here, and there's a spot where the floor meets the center spine that have both been welded and then coated with paint. So whoever welded it, they knew enough to coat the welds as to not let them rust, but they did just lay on beads of metal. So it doesn't look great, but you'll never see it technically since the seat sits here. And also since the seat was here, I assume the lower portion of the seat was holding moisture and rusted the frame below it heavier than anywhere else on the frame. So that's not a big deal. I can fix that, but it's just one of those things that has happened and will take time to correct. I went ahead and ordered all the parts that I think I need now that I've been able to take inventory of what I have. And then while I'm waiting for parts to arrive, I've sorted things by useful for this build, not useful for this build, and then just trash. Of the 8 bearings that I had, 1 of them is useful. The majority of them are all ground up and notchy or just seized entirely. And they're all the standard bearings, the 1 3/8 OD by 5/8 ID. This pile here is the not usable for this build. So there's the 2 split rims, the hub, and then the ton of washers and bolts that somebody had used to space the sprocket away from the hub itself. Then usable are the 3 matching wheels, 2 of original tires, and the serviceable pivot arms, whatever, So I've just unbent them as best I could and it should be fine. I'm not sure how well you can see it, but right now this one is forward from the kingpin is 0 degrees. This one's like 4 degrees forward, and that one's like 8 degrees forward. So yeah, I definitely need to adjust that. I can just do that off camera because obviously I don't know what I'm doing, so I can't pretend to show you how to do it because I don't know. So I've gotten pretty much everything in that I've ordered, and I'm developing a hatred for listings that have no specs or incorrect specs because most of what I ordered is not going to work. I've ordered a new drive wheel, and I ordered the drive wheel that is the right hub size and also the exact same size as the bald tire that was on here previously. It hits the brake even when the tire is totally deflated, and also when I mount it, this stud is not long enough to go all the way through the rim and also have enough thread for a nut. So that sucks. Other than that, I ordered a 35 chain and I didn't order enough of it because the listing said it goes by feet, which I don't know why they do that because it's normally by links, but I ordered 2 feet worth and it's not 2 feet. Kind of my fault. I have bearings and those seem to work, so that's whatever, 10% of the things I ordered. I've noticed some nice handiwork by the previous owner. Starting off with, they use 35 chain, which is not right. This thing's gonna throw a chain or break the chain. The ratio sucks. It's 12 tooth and 60 tooth, which equates to a 5.0 gear ratio, which is equivalent to what the mini bike has, and that thing's slow, so this thing should be slow. It should have a lot of torque, but no top end, so I'm expecting like 25 miles an hour max. Other than that little discovery, the throttle doesn't really work right now at its resting position. The carb is sitting at like 3/4 throttle. Basically, when the pedal gets moved, it just moves between 3/4 and full throttle. So there's no half or below throttle, so this thing doesn't idle. But it just means at this point, this project is now a restoration or full rebuild, whatever you want to call it, versus just a budget, let's get it running build. One other thing I forgot to mention, the previous owner took it upon themselves to drill new holes. So there are factory holes, and then there's these oblong garbage holes, and the oblong garbage holes line up with the rim that I bought, only barely, but since this rim uses studs, the base of them is a little flared, and these holes don't accommodate for that. So what that means is, the sprocket doesn't sit flush on the hub face. I can wiggle it around, and all in all, that's garbage. I don't know who decided that such a giant filter was necessary for such a tiny engine, but the internet has done it repeatedly and it seems to work. So, also this carb is full of dirt. I don't even know if I want to bother. Wow, dirt everywhere. So either this old gasket wasn't sealing at all, or they ran it without a filter, or the filter doesn't filter. So yeah, that's good. That definitely didn't hurt the engine or anything. Big stupid adapter. If I cared about this engine, I would take it all apart because right now there's a lot of dirt in places there's not supposed to be dirt. And also you saw how the oil came out, so chances are this thing has some scoring inside. I'm gonna go ahead and put in the jet that it comes with, or jets that it comes with, because whoever figured this out has figured out you need those things too. So, okay, now we open the carb and get fuel everywhere. No, looks okay. I mean, there's definitely a little bit of sediment in there. So yeah, there's a little bit of sediment in there, but not too bad. Definitely just gonna spray it out, and that should be all it needs. I'm not sure you can see that, but someone has used an incorrect size screwdriver and just destroyed the head of the jet. So like there's not even an ability to put a flathead screwdriver in there anymore. So stupid. So I'm not sure which jet is which. The plastic one on the top I've replaced, which it was a 43 and now it's a 45. The center jet is who knows, and it will stay who knows because I can't do anything about it. So we're gonna put this back together and it'll run like crap, but that'll be just how it is. I could just replace it. I may even have one lying around because it's just a standard mower carb. But I don't really feel like playing these kind of games, so I'm just not gonna mess with it. Another fine bit of work by our previous owner. They've broken an Allen key in the set screw. That's pretty awesome. Just one more pain to deal with. I don't think people normally show this kind of stuff, especially like on YouTube, because it's not interesting. But I feel like some people need to learn to like appreciate how much effort it takes when someone royally screws up and wastes the next person's time. So kudos to whoever put this on. The one set screw came out okay. The second one I had to use a Dremel and cut flatheads into. That didn't work because the set screw is made of tin cans. And then I tried heating it up and penetrating oil, and that didn't work. Then I tried prying it, and that didn't work. And then I ended up just using the giant puller tool there, and my impact. The little baby tin can set screw can't handle 1,000+ foot-pounds. So yeah, it came right off. All that effort just because someone used a cheap set screw with cheap Allen keys and just kind of cobbled it together to make it work. So while I guess I can appreciate that they were trying to like wrench on something without any know-how, this wasted a solid hour, which I could have gotten a lot done in an hour. So yeah, this was a waste of time. Ta-da! So I'm just gonna get the clutch back together and leave it off of the engine for now, and we'll start mounting the tires. That way I can actually roll this thing around versus having to leave it up on blocks. Okay, that should work. I'm gonna need to go out and buy more hardware, obviously, because it's just so I can roll the thing around, because it's kind of a pain having to drag it. All right, so I think that's it for this episode. I've hit a roadblock at this point. I gotta order parts, and I don't want to hold this episode any longer. So at this point, we're just gonna end it here. Feel free to chime in if you have any ideas about how I should build it. So yeah, with all that being said, thanks for watching and stay tuned.